Imagine this for a second. You're driving home, it's late, and then boom, everything just goes dark. The street lights are out, the city's constant hum is just gone. The systems we all rely on, the ones we barely even notice, they've just stopped.
For some people, the impact is immediate and it's really personal. A student in Sri Lanka put it this way after a recent power outage. I could not do the homework yesterday. I could not iron my school uniforms either. We faced a lot of inconveniences.
For others, it hits them right in the wallet. A local business owner shared his story.
Ice cream, fish, meat, and many other products had to be discarded. They got spoiled. We suffered great losses.
And when you zoom out to a larger scale, the entire engine of an economy can grind to a halt. As a garment factory manager explained, our production was disrupted. Yesterday, 2 shifts failed. So what happens when these invisible systems fail? And more importantly, what even are they? Well, those are the exact questions we're going to dig into today. We're going to pull back the curtain on the systems that run a society, and we'll use Sri Lanka's public services as our guide. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the very problem we just saw. What happens when the lights go out? Then, we'll look at how people get from A to B. After that, we'll explore how information flows, the safety nets that catch us when things go wrong, and we'll wrap up with the most crucial piece of the puzzle, the part we all play in making it work. All right, first up, when the lights go out, the power grid and beyond. We started with the chaos of a blackout, so let's try to understand the service that keeps that from happening. So what are these systems really? Well, at their core, they're called public services. And put simply, they're the essential jobs a government takes on to meet its citizens' basic needs. A really good way to think about them is like the operating system for a country, just humming along quietly in the background, making everything else possible. Now, in Sri Lanka, the electrical grid is a perfect example of this operating system in action. And check this out, the scale is just staggering. By 2015, they'd managed to get 98.5% of households hooked up to electricity. That's not just a statistic. That means that for pretty much everyone, modern life is even possible. It's almost universal. And that is so important because electricity isn't some luxury, right? It powers everything. We're talking health services, industry, just lighting our homes and streets, trade, and keeping our communication lines open. It's the silent foundation that so much of modern life is built on. Okay, let's move on to our next section and see how all this builds. Getting from A to B, the arteries of a nation. If electricity is the power, you could say transportation is the circulation. Let's take the story of Maheshwari and her family. They decided to travel all the way from Jaffna to Colombo. Now, instead of a really expensive private car, they hopped on the train. She said the journey was interesting, quick, and way less expensive. A perfect example of a national service connecting the entire country. And their trip didn't just stop at the train station. Once they were in Colombo, they used the local bus system to get around to see the zoo and the museum. This shows you how different services, both public and private, kind of weave together to create this network that keeps a whole city moving. Maheshwari's whole journey was made possible by these 2 main state providers. Her bus ride, that was thanks to the Sri Lanka Transport Board, or SLTB. And that long-haul train trip was managed by Sri Lanka Railway. You put them together and they form the backbone of the nation's transit system. Okay, so we've gone from moving people to moving information. Section 3, staying connected and informed, the flow of information. Because in today's world, this is just as vital as roads and railways. You know, you might see a tower like this and not really think twice about it. But this piece of infrastructure is the absolute backbone of a modern connected society. This is what makes everything possible, from a simple phone call to a complex international business deal. It's the physical skeleton our digital and social worlds are built on. This whole flow of information really stands on 2 pillars. On one hand, you have the tangible, physical delivery of the Postal Service, which is still super critical for things like official documents and payments. And on the other hand, you have mass media, which operates on a much broader scale. It informs the public, and just as importantly, it holds those in power accountable. Both are absolutely essential for a healthy society. But, you know, life isn't always smooth sailing. What happens when things don't go according to plan? That brings us to our 4th section. Safety nets and security when things go wrong. Accidents and emergencies. They're an unfortunate but very real part of daily life. A scene like this can create total chaos and put people in real danger. So who steps in? Well, that first call for help goes to the Sri Lankan police. They are the immediate safety net, right there on the front lines. They do everything from managing traffic and investigating incidents to protecting public security and upholding the law. Their job is to restore order and safety right away. But for those really big events, like a natural disaster, the safety net expands. Security forces, like the Sri Lanka Army, step in to provide critical relief services, helping communities when they are at their absolute most vulnerable. And this brings us to our final, and honestly, maybe the most important section. Everyone plays a part, a two-way street. Because these services, they don't just exist in a vacuum. This right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the matter. The whole system is really a social contract. The institutions have duties, providing clean water, maintaining the roads, but we, the citizens, we have responsibilities too. Things like not wasting water, reporting problems when we see them, and using services safely. It's not a one-way street, it's a partnership. The key takeaway, the big idea, is this. These systems aren't just provided for us, they're run with us. Our actions, big and small, directly impact how well they work for everyone. So we'll leave you with this question to chew on. Think about your own community and the services you rely on every single day. What is one small thing you could do this week to better support them?